Before you start your first playthrough of 7 Days to Die 2.0, you should really find out all the different ways the melee weapons have been buffed so that you know which ones are most worth your time in this update. We're going to be covering Sledgehammers first because they are far and away the most buffed weapon in this update, which is wild because they were already perfectly fine. Let's cover all the changes you need to know about the Sledgehammer buff in 2.0 so that you know exactly how to maximize the carnage of your next playthrough. Starting off with a couple of things that actually haven't been changed, sledgehammers themselves have not been directly buffed in any way. That is to say, the actual sledgehammer items have the same stats as they did in 1.0, and the Skull Crusher perk is exactly the same as well. However, the swing speed perk has actually been nerfed slightly, as it now costs 5 perk points to achieve the same effect it did in 3 in 1.0. So, with that in mind, how have sledgehammers been buffed? Let's start with the biggest thing, the new skill book. The first rank is pretty good and pretty simple, a bonus 10% chance to knock down enemies. Sledgehammers already get a bonus 75% chance of knockdown from their main perk, so this gives sledgehammers a ridiculously high knockdown chance, which is great. Rank 2 is just sledgehammers degrade 20% slower, which is solid. Rank 3, and this is a big one, killing enemies with power attacks slows nearby enemies and reduces their damage by 20% for 10 seconds. Now, if that was all that was added in this update, sledgehammers would be unbelievably good with that alone. The slow is very impactful on high run speeds, and 20% less damage on zombies is fantastic as well. It's like it was built for insane nightmare. Rank 4 is 25% more damage to enemies below 30% health. That's a really nice effect, particularly for higher health enemies who might take a good few swings to normally put down. The amount of health they have at 30% means that this will have a notable impact on them. Another crazy one is rank 5 giving double XP for headshot kills, so the sledgehammer is just undisputably the best leveling weapon now. If you spec into the Skull Crusher skill and remember to search mailboxes, you can probably find all the sledgehammer books by day 4 or 5, at least by the end of the first week. So you shouldn't have to wait long to get this effect, and I've played with it over the weekend and it's been pretty satisfying to use. Rank 6 is another really good one. There is a 10% chance to knock down enemies unconscious, rendering them helpless. Now this is really good because they just lie there essentially dead for a really long time. It feels like about 10 seconds or even more, which gives you plenty of time to run away, fight another zombie, or just finish them off. And rank 7 is a nice one, giving you 50% armor penetration with sledgehammers. It's not huge, but it is a nice thing to have for dealing with soldiers and bikers. Then the completion effect is of course a full stamina reset on power attack kills. This is absolutely huge for sledgehammers because it's the weapon you're most likely to use all of your stamina with since it's so expensive to swing. And this helps that immensely. It basically turns it into a super version of the club with higher risk but higher rewards. I might never go back to clubs personally. Now, if that amazing skill book line was all they had changed, it'd be an amazing buff. But we got even more. The Grand Slam perk in Strength gives a 50% chance to ragdoll enemies on sledgehammers and clubs with sprinting power attacks. Ragdolls are one of the better knockdown effects because the zombies are subject to physics before they can actually start even getting back up. And some of them might just never get up because they get stuck on something and they're just flailing around unable to fight you. So this perk is an amazing addition to the clubs and sledges as well. But wait, there's more. You know how sledgehammer power attacks already have a crazy 30% bonus chance to dismember? Well, now the 4th rank of Strength Mastery gives you an additional 50% with clubs and sledgehammer power attacks. And there's even more. Rank 5 of Strength Mastery means that a kill with strength-based weapons gives 50% damage resistance for 10 seconds, and that is huge because it's very easy to get one kill with a sledgehammer, and it is pure damage resistance that works against all forms of damage, and even if someone shot you with armor-piercing ammo, it'd still reduce the damage you take. Now, of course, you do need to invest in 10 strength to get this, but holy shit, are you a tank when you do it. 10 strength, the skill book, 5 Skull Crusher, 5 Big and Fast, 5 Grand Slam, 5 Strength Mastery, and maybe even a cheeky 5 Pack Mule will turn you into an absolute strength god of a melee fighter. Throw in some Raider armor for bonus crit healing, stun resist, and melee damage with up to 45% crit resist, and you are just absolutely disgusting. Vile. absolute Sledgelord. That's the official name of this build, I decided. It's like Edgelord, but twice as unlikable. Become the Sledgelord, bully the zombies, shrug off all the damage. It's the closest you'll ever come to playing 7 Days to Die as a brute chieftain from Halo. I figured I should also mention that there's been a small change to Sledgehammers in the form of a new sound effect, which is triggered when you get the effect that slows enemies and reduces their damage. Basically, it sounds sort of like a knuckle cracking type of sound, or more accurately, probably a neck breaking sound, but it kind of gives knuckle cracking vibes. And I have to say, I think it's going to be one of the most controversial sounds in the game, because some people just get the absolute ick from the noise of like bone snapping and things like that. But me, being the psychopath I am, I think it makes sledgehammers really, really satisfying. So let me know down in the comments what you think of the following sound effect. Now, what about a buff that applies to the sledgehammer but also every other melee weapon as well? Well, for that we have the Fortitude perk, Siphoning Strikes. This gives you 2 points of health on kill with melee weapons. And this is a pretty good effect. Even if you just take one rank of it, getting a couple of health back on every melee kill is really, really good healing early on in the game. Because if you take a couple of hits, assuming you have some armor on, it doesn't take that many kills to restore your health fully. And of course, if you want to go whole investment into Fortitude and get that maxed out to level 5, you can get 10 health per kill, which is not an insignificant amount of health to be able to essentially get for free in 7 Days to Die. You do of course have to kill something with a melee weapon for it, so it's not exactly going to be worthwhile to go up against a radiated wight with a sledgehammer to try and heal from it, but you could clear out some weaker zombies with your melee weapon of some kind and get a bunch of healing from that, and that's pretty damn good. So in this next section we're going to be covering all the weapons that received small buffs. Obviously the club got a few big buffs as well, just as part of sledgehammers, and those are covered there. The stun baton and spears and knuckles also received small buffs as well. The knuckles received Fortitude Mastery rank 3, which gives you a chance to get silver or gold upon killing an enemy with your fists. It's not a buff to its damage or anything, but it is a nice thing for fist players to have that will make their playthroughs easier. Stun batons got another buff with Intellect Mastery rank 5, making it so the stun batons are always charged, which makes them even more comedic when you're just spamming them on enemies. And if you're wondering, by the way, the charged enemies in 7 Days to Die do have a resistance to stuns, in the sense that they recover from stuns and electric fences faster. They are not completely immune, as I theorized before the update came out, just resistant to the effects of it. Spears also received a small buff with Perception Mastery rank 3, giving you bleed on light attacks. I don't know how good that bleed is yet currently. I've not had a chance to dive into the game files and fully find that out, but it's a minor buff either way to get some bleed. And more usefully, rank 4 of Perception Mastery gives you 25% more damage with sprinting power attacks, which is much more significant for spears as a playstyle, though you should really be going for Perception Mastery for the rifle boosts rather than the spear boosts. If you want another 7 Days to Die 2.0 video where I go over some of the biggest mistakes players might be making when they start out in 2.0, click the image on screen now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.